Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the HAWX space program. We have right here the first of four landers that will be docking up with the new two Truss, and as you can guess by that, we're going to continue with the new two program. Um, it had actually been a while since I had docked, and I have all these mods that can really help me out now. And to be honest, with a lot of these mods, if I can talk, um, it actually makes it quite easy. With McJeb, I was trying to figure out how this works, but if you pick the right one, it'll line you up so you're parallel with the port no matter where you are. You just translate into position, as you'll see I do here. And with this docking port alignment indicator here, you basically just match everything up right in the middle and you'll be good. Um, and so that's what I did for all four of these, which you'll probably see at least three. I can't remember if I did all four, but yeah, the Kerbal Space Program, Kerbal Space Program, Kerbal Space Center. If I, man, I cannot talk tonight, but I've been really excited about this program. Um, that's why they've put so much money into this, which it seems like they have an uh, endless amount of money. So everyone's has their eyes glued to the computer screens and TVs as they're making their first dock up in space. Of course, it's a bit difficult for them because if it were in the case, and of course it decides to go to nighttime about the time I decide to bring this thing in. But if we're two Kerbals docking, and there we go. If we're two Kerbals docking, it wouldn't be so hard. But let's go ahead and take a look at how this was built. Alright, so now is probably a pretty good time to go over this new 2 lander launcher, the rocket itself. The rocket here is pretty simple. You got some liquid boosters, some solid rocket boosters. Um, some of the KW rocketry rockets. I can't remember what solid boosters those are. Um, and that's pretty much it. You have your launch stage, and then these things fall away eventually, and then you kind of have your injection into orbit stage. My idea was that this would then get you into a help get you into the targeting. But the last one you just saw Doc there, this guy decoupled but didn't. So I had this whole thing still stuck on there somehow, and I couldn't figure out. So I finally decided this decoupler right here, which seems to work fine here, needs to go, and I need to put this ugly um, squad one on back on there. But this thing pretty much has enough delta V. This computer is here because when you go to I'm launching this thing upside down. So when you go to launch it, it wants to think that you're upside down. This computer is technically upside down because when you go to land, it'll be the other way around and will be correct. But that is that. I have a gyroscope here because I usually like adding. But that should be about it of that. So we can get rid of, not the rocket motor, you stupid. Go ahead and get rid of that. I do have this saved. So this here is the lander, and like I said, when it goes to land, it will be like this. You'll notice though that when I actually docked it up, when I think I'm gonna have to do this anyway. It was like in this configuration right here. We had RCS, just to dock it. Uh, Early stage docking port. I don't know how it's any different than any of the others, but I like using it. This will come off right here and leave us with the lander when it comes time to. Um, Actually, what'll probably end up happening is. That's not what I meant. I haven't totally thought this through, if you can't tell. Probably part clipping and all that crap. But this section will probably come off with it, and then we'll use RCS to maneuver away from the truss. And the truss, and then this will decouple when we probably get a suborbital, so it'll smash into Minimus. And then we have landing gear, which actually extend. You'll see that later on there. A couple rocket engines, uh, goo containers, science bay, and then right here is the thing I really like about this. There's a couple right here, and this will fly up, and then this will come off, and we have our little return spacecraft right here. I really like this design because this little hard drive here will suck up any of the science with a little bit of a loss. They don't want to make it too cheaty. From any of these guys, the thermometer back here too, and it'll suck all that up. And where's my heat shield? I should have a heat shield here. I think the heat shield's somewhere. Oh, yeah, it's right here. Let me flip that over. And I think I can take this. Yeah, there we go. And there's our heat shield. This will come back, re-enter. We'll drop the heat shield. Maybe. And then we have... I just realized this thing doesn't have parachutes. I thought I put parachutes on this thing. Huh. Well, right, now we have parachutes. I might have to go back and fix that on the other guy. I swear I built this thing with parachutes. I don't know what happened to it. But, I mean, it's really compact. We have some batteries, solar panels. We have the jets there only because I need them for maneuvering, which I use the RCS build aid, which you really can't see right now. Anyways. But, yeah, this guy is pretty simple. We have a simple tank and a small rocket motor to get us back. That's pretty much it. I really like this idea. I think I want to I'll probably use these several of these throughout. Going to different places. We'll probably eventually visit the moon too, but I have ideas for Minimus. And here we are once again with another lander. All Kerbal eyes, I should say, are on their screens right now, watching this thing come in again. Part of them are probably hoping that maybe they'll see a bit of explosions, but just a bit of a spoiler, there are no explosions quite yet. And so this one comes in pretty smoothly once again. I'm doing it on the other side because why not? It makes it symmetrical as I do that, and I don't have to worry about running into the other guy. This one does have those parachutes. I do fix that later. I replace the other lander, and since, again, apparently they have unlimited resources, they can throw just about anything they actually want to into space with a little worry about wasting money. And, of course, we have, I think is this our third one? I'm trying to remember. Is this the third one? No, I think this is the fourth one. And I think if you look closely enough, you'll actually see the first one that I docked actually has the fixed parachutes. And so, speaking of resources, as we watch these dock up here, oh yes, before we talk about resources, I was messing around, and apparently a couple action groups were stuck together. So those landing legs were sticking out there, and what I ended up having to do, I forgot to record this part, is I go into my action group manager and I just basically set those to an action group and then pulled those in individually instead of using the servo control there. And so we come back in and this goes a lot smoother. But honestly, I really don't want money resources. I know they're going to do it because, I mean, that's just part of a career. But what I really want are material resources. I want to be able to send stuff out and mine my rocket fuel, mine my metals, mine my materials that I have to use in order to make my rockets. But I think they'll probably add a bit of both money and that. There was actually talk about it a while back, but I don't know what happened to it. I'd love to see it. I like that aspect of being able to having to collect everything I need. And so the Kerbals are once again stuck to their TVs as they watch the last lander come in here, and they're holding their breath, hoping, but at the same time, not hoping for an explosion. and but once again, we don't have any explosions, and so we dock it up, and you'll notice I end up looking at my Delta V, and I think, you know what? I don't think I have enough Delta V in that thing to get me out to Minmus and get me do the maneuvers I want. So I basically make a fuel tank with the weight of oh man, this thing was all squirrely. Um, of what how much that new two truss with all the landers on it was I decoupled the extra fuel tank there, and then basically made a fuel tank and put this under there and checked the Delta V, and that pretty much gave me the correct Delta V I needed. Um, and I don't think it's the first 2.5 meter launch, but you'll notice I have those cluster engines down there. I actually went for a small engine. It was probably more of a lander engine there, and then I clustered some rockets around that. And unfortunately, it'll end up that I lose some of the footage here due to data corruption and data loss when the video cameras they have that somehow float around their spaceships, transmitting back to Kerbal Space Program. I guess they just lost communication and they didn't quite send all the footage. Or I could be lazy, but I like the first example better. um, either I'm pretty sure I recorded some of these, but I don't know what happened to them. And it's not like it was a really big issue. It's simple burns out to minimus. So the Kerbals weren't as excited for this one. It was just a big orange tank, and they really didn't care. Um, they didn't figure this one was going to explode, even though, considering it's a giant fuel tank, if it were to explode, it would have been quite interesting. It would have made quite the explosion. And so this is about when we lose our data there. My fancy transition skills, if I would have had more time, I probably would have tried to figure out some way to make it all fuzzy. But right there, we lose our video footage. And you can see here my maps, map technology, map sensors, that's the word, have been busy at work trying to find Keythane and mapping out the surface. And so they've done enough work there, and so it's time for the first lander to go ahead and take off once we get there. Come on, guys. Come on, girls. I think, oh yes, we wanted to go around a couple times to get into that lake bed there. And if you notice, I do lose contact around the back of Minmus only because there are no longer any satellites back there to be able to communicate back. I will be fixing that. I have some plans for that. But at the moment, we don't have those satellites up. And here we go. The first lander is leaving the new two truss, using that RCS and deploying that solar panel um, to make sure we get all of those the solar rays, solar goodness we can get as we land here. And I end up deciding I just use the well, they end up deciding they just use the RCS since Minmus Minimus's gravity is so low that you really don't need much in the way of much delta V to get down, which is what kind of attracted them to it in the first place. But as you can see here, we fast forward because it was a long, tedious process, and even from here, we about 7,000 meters up, a little over 7,000 meters. It's still a long process as we're coming down, and and I'm checking out science experiments, and we're trying to figure out a way to speed this up. And unfortunately, There isn't really much way to speed this up. um, and we can actually see the legs here extended, a very wide base. It'll keep us from tipping over. Not that that's a too big of an issue on Minimus. You don't have too much issue with tipping over. You can land it on a rocket motor and not even break it and keep it upright. This was actually designed more for the moon, but after my several failed attempts that I did not record or I deleted because out of frustration, I decided we'll just use this design over at Minimus. And so, coming down 2,000 meters, and since this is a lake bed, the surface altitude true and the surface altitude ASL, which I can't remember what that stands for, are pretty close to the same number there. And 300 meters, come on. All the Kerbals are watching their screens once again. Even the spaceplane hangar guys who had their episode taken away from them are watching as this thing comes down. The first images of the surface, up close images of the surface of Minmus are coming all over their TVs, and people are getting hungry because for some reason they think this looks like a ice cream dessert. And we're 10 meters, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, we bounced. Oh, and oh, no, not quite. And touchdown, I think. Yes, we finally have touchdown right there. And we get right to work. They get right to work checking out all these experiments and pulling in as much data as they possibly can. But they discover an issue. When we go to pull in all this information, I'm not sure what I was doing there. I don't know quite what I was doing. But when we go to pull all that information to this hard drive, apparently this hard drive has a capacity. Wouldn't you be surprised by that? And I can only store 2 experiments on this thing. And if I would have realized that, I would have put 2 or 3 maybe hard drives on there. But unfortunately, we don't, because apparently this is a hard drive from back in the 80s or something that can only store maybe a couple megabytes of data or something. So we go ahead and transmit back the goo container data, and we have the materials bay and thermometer reading. And here we are with the second one bouncing once again. And we basically, I was trying to figure out the best ratio of things, like if I could store some of this goo container data on that hard drive, but it didn't really want to cooperate. So again, once again, I transmitted back the goo container data and stored the temperature and materials based study on that hard drive. And so um, we decide, I think, do we decide that we want to take off right now? Come on. Yes, we do. And so this is the return system here. We have a couple separation boosters that boost this thing almost to a 50-kilometer orbit, which is really quite nice. And then I just make a maneuver node, make sure it doesn't hit the surface, and have McJeb um, use that node to not really circularize. I struggle with that word. I don't know why, but make sure I get a orbit that won't impact the surface, and I set an alarm, and I've already got the other guy up actually, and I forgot about that. I already had the other lander up, but oddly enough, this one actually gets to its departure node first, departure to Kerbin. And it actually does not take much delta V to get back, particularly if you set it up for a aerobrake maneuver, which I will, or at least I try, but for some reason it decides it doesn't want to allow that to work. Um, and so I end up having to actually warp out, but then the other the other lander, um, decides to let me know that it needs to depart here. And you'll notice that I did actually use the lander to take off on that one. I could have done that with the other one, but I wanted to test out how well that system worked. And so now we have two of our return craft heading out. Um, and so it's pretty much just warping, and we do a little bit of a burn here. They decide to do a burn so they can get back into the atmosphere and do some air brake maneuvers. And this one I actually have not even hitting the atmosphere, no air brake maneuvers, which will actually come around to bite me in the butt. um, because I um, you can't do that. You can't return from Minmus and just re-enter the atmosphere and be fine, which not a deadly re-entry at least. And you'll see that one's actually zipping ahead. And so we switch back to that one, and this is where all hell breaks loose. um, Everything looks fine. We're coming in. And I think at this point I'm trying to figure out why the heck it's not working, and I discover, oh, I'm still in warp. How smart I am. So, our craft comes down. I decide to flip it around. And here is what the Kerbals have been waiting for. We get the flames, and then we get the explosions. At first, I thought, oh, maybe I just lost my MechJeb module. Nope, I lost everything. And unfortunately, I pulled that antenna in thinking, oh, I can still communicate. No, I can't. And then we're graphical glitches because Kerbal Space Program's like that. And so I decided with this guy, let's go with the air brake maneuvers I was talking about before. And so we do that. We actually pull our orbit. We actually get an encounter with the moon, which actually slingshots us around faster. And if I wouldn't have hit the Kerbal atmosphere, I would have had some issues. It's actually sending me out on a uh, escape trajectory. And I forgot what I was doing with this. Oh, I was checking if my action group still used or still set for those solar panels, and they were, which was nice. Um, so we do our air brake, which will pour. I pull those solar panels in this so they don't get destroyed. And I had both antennas out, but it was using up too much power. Yeah, you can see right there we have our escape trajectory or encounter or something. I don't know what was going on there. And this one goes a lot smoother. No explosions. Which maybe some curls weren't so happy about, but we really needed that data. We really needed some of that data back. And we jump forward again, and this is our return. Oddly enough, that antenna there is supposed to snap under aerodynamic pressure or whatever forces, whatever like that, with like that red and white one, but it doesn't, which I can't necessarily complain about. I deployed the parachutes even before I re-entered I even hit the atmosphere to keep me from accidentally having my antenna snap off and then me hit the surface going extremely fast. And it doesn't seem to help. And what on earth is going on? Oh, yeah, we have McJeb. Well, you gotta remember to shut McJeb off, or else it'll try to go in some wonky ways and always fun stuff. um, so we slowly make our way down. Not very exciting at all. I wish this would come down faster. And yay, we finally have our first data back. And now for a public service announcement. When you're using McJeb, and you're using the Translatron, I think is the name of it, don't hit the panic button. Just don't, because it renders your craft completely useless. It runs through all the stages. And I don't quite understand why it does that. So you can hit panic and it'll shoot your capsule up into the air and not kill your Kerbals or something. I don't know. But for the interesting of Kerbals, it actually makes an explosion, which is always fun, of course. And come on, kaboom! There we go. Boom! Yay! Stuff's flying everywhere and more explosions. Yeah. But oddly enough, apparently that explosion also caused a rift in Kerbal time because the game broke and allowed me to have a second chance. So the Kerbal gods, if there are any, decided to smile on me, and of course we get our data right away, and then we don't mess around and decide, all right, let's go ahead and shoot this thing off. Actually, we decided to go for the third lander, which I did not show, because we were afraid we were actually going to run out of solar power here. And I don't know who let the rookie on this one, but they decided um, someone allowed the rookie on this one, and he didn't do it right. In the panic of trying to get this thing up before we ran out of solar power, he forgot to enable SAS, and then he burns trying to correct that, and he thinks, "Oh, I'm out of the look," and then he looks, and then explosion. Yeah, so that's two craft down. McJeb, not McJeb, but Jeb decides to take over from here. And for those of you saying, "No, not McJeb, Jeb is dead." No, he was just severely injured enough that he can't go out into space right now. He sits back at mission control and watches these things go up and longs for the days when he could go up himself. But unfortunately, he has to sit behind this console he calls McJeb. And, yep, he doesn't have a whole lot of fun with it. He would rather actually be flying the spacecraft in person. But at least he gets to see all these new worlds. And in the sake of time, I decided to cut all the crap out there. You've seen that before. You don't need to see it again. And bring back another capsule of gold information, or megabytes. And after that, the scientists swarmed to the science center, and like kids in a candy store start looking over all the cool things they can get, um, while all the scientists from the VAB were pushing and shoving, um, trying to decide what they wanted to get. Um, the guys in the spaceplane hangar decided to sneak in and thought, oh, maybe this aerodynamic stuff, these wings and supersonic stuff, looks kind of interesting. But the guys from the VIB actually snatched up the first module here, and in to actually appease the guys in the spaceplane hangar, they decide to let the guys get um, the wings they wanted, because we have some plan for those in the next episode. Hint, hint. Um, uh, yeah, we really want to get back to the aerodynamics or the aerospace stuff, because the guys over in the government building actually like the idea of wings. They've always been fascinated with birds and things like that. But unfortunately, the guys in the VAB have had a better idea by putting basically explosives under things and shooting them up in the air. But until next time, guys, I will see you guys later.